Hello, this is the second video for Tuesday of week 16 of mobile design. Now, the first video just kind of ended abruptly with me running into these problems with the drop-down menu, throwing the JavaScript error because it was trying to reuse code from the first page, and also this issue with the images and the spacing that were put around them. Well, in our class today, Aaron pointed out that there was some transparency being created around the images. Sure enough, he was right. That was half the problem. The other half the problem is just this sort of inherent spacing that's being created between the images. It's probably some code deep down in the bowels of the JavaScript, um, but we can correct it with our own little class. So let me show you how I've gone about fixing some of these issues. So right now I'm in XD and I have things like, these little banners that I want to use. And so I have to make sure, I think one of the issues, I'm not entirely sure what exactly the issue was, but one of the issues appeared to be when I was using transparency. I was making these little, I'll call these banners, semi-transparent, and other than that, there were no borders, there were no shadows, there was nothing else going on, but it was still causing problems. So when I got rid of the transparency, I seemed to fix some of my problems. So a couple things you need to keep in mind. One thing is, just because you create an image on your artboard here doesn't mean that it's exactly the same size as the other images. If you click on that image, right over here, it'll show you the statistics for that image, the width, the height, and even the X and the Y position. So X, how close it is to this edge, and Y, how far down it is from the top. So I noticed in some of my previous ones, I had this zero, the X position was 0.5, so it was moved over a little too much. And my widths were 385 instead of 375. So everything was kind of askew, right? So this time I've gone in and I've made sure this was, exactly 375 pixels, how wide I wanted it. I made the height 57 so that it's consistent across all these little banners. And then I typed the text, in its own little text box and centered it, vertically. And now what I'm going to do is, select both the text and the box and group them together. Okay, so now I get just one big image that's all stuck together. Oh, you know what I got to do first is I misspelled mountains here, so I got to fix that. Okay, Moral Mountains, and then go ahead and select that and group it together. Now, I showed you this plugin that we have here called Rename It. And so I'm just going to go ahead and I'll rename this MM2. Try and use lowercase here, MM2. And then I will go ahead and export this. So we'll go, and I'm just doing one image right now to show you the fixes that I can do to make this to work. Okay, so now I'm pointing towards my images folder inside my www folder inside, my app 5, right? So MM2, it's going to export all three versions of it. I'm going to click that, and now they should be there, right? So now I can go into Dreamweaver, and you're going to see some things I was experimenting with. You're going to see this thing I was experimenting with. And of course, that should say world up there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down here to where this Mortal Mountains thing is, and I'm going to remove this image. And then I'm going to drop in the brand new image. And so that should be called MM2. Here it is. Okay, it's got this brown background here. Okay, now notice this comes in, it's the right size and everything, but there's still this gap between this and this. Now I still need to export this picture, re-export it, make sure there's no extra spacing on it. It doesn't look like there's extra spacing, but up here you can see that I managed to get rid of the gap. And the way that I got rid of the gap was using that style I created earlier, which is called the dot move up style, right? I changed the margin top to -0.2 EM, and that seemed to get rid of the gap between these two. So if I just call this this style, this class inside of this, it should theoretically move that up and eliminate that space. But we don't know yet if it's going to eliminate all the space because I haven't replaced this picture yet like I did this one. So, but let's click on this. So that's mm2, right? So for the class, we want to put this, we want to type class equals, okay, class equals, and then you put the quote marks. And the nice thing is it gives you the list of the different classes that you can possibly call it, right? So you can go through this list, or maybe you can remember what it was called. So mine was called move up. So I'm going to click class move up. So what happens is, yep, sure enough, it pulls it up, but you can see that it's not quite enough. So it pulled it up negative 0.2 EMs, and it's not quite enough there. But for some reason, it was enough here. Unless I'm badly misreading the amount of gap between this red and the green. So that makes me think that what I want to do now is re-export this this mountains picture and see if maybe that solves the problem. Because as I said, I solved the problem up here, so I'm going to see if I can solve it down here by re-exporting that picture. So I'll go back to XD. I'll click on this picture. Now I got to make sure everything is as it should be here. With this 375, that's correct. 0 means it's right on the edge of that. Let's see, let's see, that's interesting that it has a fill. I guess the fill is just the picture itself. It doesn't have any other extra stuff going on here. So this one looks pretty good all by itself, which makes me wonder, if my problem isn't that I need to bring it up in the spacing a little more. But just for grins, I'll give this a new name, and I'll call it Mountains 2, rename, and I will export it to this folder, Mountains 2. And then I'll click on this and basically get rid of that image. And then insert it again. Okay, yeah, and I can still see a gap there, which is very strange because there was no gap there. So what that's telling me is maybe I just need to go up a little more. So I can go up here to the margin top and make it try a -3 EMs. And wow, something weird is happening here now. Why are oh no, I guess that fixed it. And of course, you gotta, you want it to be right. So I could say -2.5 EMs, and that actually does work. -2.1 EMs doesn't work. So I'm just trying to get the right amount of spacing there. So we'll try 2.5 again. Yep, -2.5 works fine there. It's also being applied here, and I don't really see any major negative to that. It could have been that there was a space here, but I wasn't seeing it because of that orange background, and there's the red. So I'm going to stick with 2.5, and of course it'll be proved to be correct if I can make these other banners the same way and put them here, and then apply that move up style to them. Everything should just kind of slap together, cinch together, as so it looks like it's just one continuous grouping of pictures. Okay, so now I'm going to try again. So the next thing I'll do, I'll work from the bottom up, will be the Frightful Forest. So and I'll be honest, when I have something that's working, I don't feel like going to something else that may not be working and then try and fix any problems with that. So, one of my strategies is going to be to copy this and paste it back in, and then just make changes to this, right? So, first thing I have to do is ungroup this because um, this was grouped together. So now I'm going to retype this into the frightful forest. Okay, and then I'll regroup it because that seemed to work out pretty well before. Might not be necessary, but I'm sort of superstitious in the sense that if something works, just keep doing that because any deviation from the plan could screw you up, right? So frightful forest. So we want to give this a name. So I'll call this FF2. And then I'm going to export this. Same place. And now in the Dreamweaver, click on this. I got to get rid of all this. Okay, now I'm going to insert the FF2. Okay, and sure enough, it goes right where it's supposed to go. And it's going to need the move up class to move up there, but also this forest image is going to need the move up class as well to move up to the bottom of the frightful forest banner. So I'll grab this class move up, copy it, put it down here where the let's see, click on this. I'll put it down here where this mountains picture is, and then that should move up, and it did. Now I'll click on the frightful forest, click there, paste it in, and that moved up as well. So so far we're having a bunch of success with this, which is great because obviously it was kind of an issue before. And so the last thing I need to do is put the word world up here, which is the page that we're on. And so once again, I'll do the same thing. I believe this is still in the copy buffer, so if I hit Command V, it'll paste another one of these in, right? So I can ungroup it, retype, the text, say world, and then there's some weirdo thing down here. I want to get rid of that so I don't actually grab that. Make sure that this is grouped again, and give it a name. So I'm just going to call this world 2 maybe. Okay, and then export selected, export. Okay, then we go back into Dreamweaver. We got to get rid of this image. And I noticed that I was messing around with different possible things here, so I got rid of my div images here, unfortunately, so I'll have to put those back in, my beginning and closing div images around these images here, so I got to do this. Okay, all right, so there's the forest, and that's been replaced already, and it also has the move up text, so it should move up to the bottom of whatever I put in here, which would be the world 2. So insert, or the move up class, I should say. So now we want to go to world 2, insert that, and actually the world 2 is the only one that won't get the move up class because there's actually a certain amount of space here that I set when I made the drop down menu, and I wanted that to be consistent, right? Okay, so finally, after tons of work, we finally have this thing looking good. Everything's centered. There's no spaces between anything. It all looks good. Plus, each of these things can be a link that can be used to go to something else. So for example, if I wanted this image to be a link to go to a page called the Frightful Forest, I could just type in ahref equals, and then you have to put the pound sign, and I could call my page FF, Frightful Forest, and then put the closing angle bracket. Now, then I would have to grab this A tag, the end link tag, and move it here so that the whole image is a link. And that would link this thing right here to FF, a page that doesn't exist yet, right? Now, in addition, I would take this, which I also want to link to that, and I would copy and paste the same code. Here's the closing tag, which goes after the Frightful Forest banner, right? So put it right here after the banner, and then grab the link and put that before the banner, like that. Okay, so now if somebody clicks on that or this, they're going to go to that FF page, which, as I said, doesn't exist. Okay, so that solves one problem, which is, you know, bringing images in that have weird spacing around them. There were two problems at work there. One was the weird transparent border that was being created, I think, by having a transparent image in XD, because I have no other recourse to think it was anything else. I searched on the internet, I couldn't find an explanation for it. So the second I changed these to solid color and away from transparency, everything worked. That was half the problem. The other half the problem is that there is some code somewhere in the bowels, probably of jQuery, that's automatically putting spacing between these. And we got rid of that with the move up class that we created here. And that takes everything down negative 0.25 EMs. It takes it up negative 2.5 EMs so that they all kind of stick together. Okay, so that solves the image problems on this new page that we're making. Now, the other problem was about this drop-down menu here. It wasn't working on the new page that we made because it was throwing an error and saying, hey, you're using this code on the home page, and it's not right to be calling the same code on a new page, right? So the way that that was fixed was, well, first let's explain how it works. Let me go back to the home page here. So you go to the home page, you click on this little button here, and what happens is it reveals this menu right here, right, which is called My Links. All right. Now this button here, which is the let's see, which button is it? So that is blah 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 blah. I want to say it's this button here. I see home 24 pics. It's kind of hard to tell based on the weird name. Let's see. Maybe it's this one. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So what's happening here is there's this image here, but it has all this code around it that says on click, go ahead and execute the my functions JavaScript, right? So what happens, you click this button and it says, okay, where's the my function JavaScript? And then down at the bottom of the page, there's this script right here. I'm trying to copy it and I can't. This script right here, which is called my function, right? And what my function does is it opens up this section called my links, right? Now, so we're calling my function here on the home page, and what Dreamweaver didn't like was when we got to the world page, we were trying to call my function again, and it said no, 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 that's not cool. So one simple way to solve that problem is simply to copy the script, this script here, all the way from this script tag to here, copy it, and paste it in underneath again, which is what I've done already. So here's the exact same script. Now the only difference is instead of this being called my function, we're going to call this my function 2, right? And then instead of calling my links, we're going to call my links 2, okay? So now what happens, and this, of course, on the home page, it's using this script, and it's using the thing called my links. But on the world page, which we'll get to over here, it's going to be using my function 2 and something called my links 2. Now we've already got the script down here and we've customized it to be my function 2 and my links 2, right? Now what we have to do is go up to where this button is, and it's right up here around line 128, and we change it to say, instead of calling my function, call my function 2, right? And then a little further down where the my links section is, we change the name of that to my links 2. Okay, and then everything works. Now let me go over it one more time. So just to confuse you even further. Okay, on the home page, this little button right here, which is here. Let's see, we're on the home page right now. Okay, so this little button right here is this around line 87. It's calling my function. Okay, we go down. Here's my function, which opens up my links. And my links is this section right here, right? So that opens that. Now we go to the world page. Okay, we click on this. And now this one is calling my function 2, which is this script that we copied and pasted in down here at the bottom. This little guy here. It's called my function 2. And that is something opening something called my links 2, which is just this. So really, when you think about it, I mean, we had to cut and paste this code in for the new page anyway. All we had to do was put a little number 2 at the end of my links and my function, and then just copy and paste, a few lines of script in here and change these to the number 2 as well. Now that's not a lot of work. It would be nice if there was a function where we could just adhere this header to the top and then just change the page content and not worry about making a new header essentially for every page. And I will look into that and see if there's an option for us to do that. I would hope there would be. But for the short term, for now, just getting these pages to work, I would recommend doing this method. Just basically doubling the script and calling the new function, because sometimes, just hacking something together and getting it to work is the way to go, just so you can move on and do the next thing. And of course, the next thing is go look for a better, more efficient way to do things, right? And there may be, or there may not be. This may be how you have to do it, with this particular jQuery system. So I'll look into it and I'll get back to you guys with more information about that. Okay, so hopefully you guys are having some success with this. Let me go ahead and close that up. For some reason, clicking on that is not closing it up, which is very bizarre. Let me see if I go here, I can open it and I can close it. And if I go here, it's not opening or closing, which is very strange. So let me double check my code here and make sure everything is groovy. My links 2, my function 2, let's see, my function 2, oh, here, there's an extra space here. I wonder, I may have just created that right now when I was showing you this example. Yeah, sure enough. Yeah, that just shows you how temperamental this damn code is. I just put an extra space in there and it threw me to the dogs, right? Anyway, so there we are. So we've got a second page and it's working. As I've said before, this is just a little content. There's more content that can go on this page, and of course, as you put more, you'll be scrolling down to get to it. Okay, I'm going to stop there. This is my second video where I resolved some of the problems that we ran into in the first video, and so hopefully this will help you out. And I will talk to you guys more on Thursday.